Hello everyone, my name is Grayson. I am one of the writers for Survey Corps, and I apologize that this sounds like it's being recorded on a potato, because it is. I'm not a voice actor, so I have a webcam, and I'm just looking at all of this peeking in Audacity, and I'm not sorry, I really don't care. So if you don't follow us on Tumblr, you're probably wondering what the fuck is this and why is this bitch talking? I decided, since there's been a huge lack of audience engagement these past few years, to have these speed paints with commentary focusing on the Survey Corps characters and their lives before the apocalypse and during the apocalypse at the field hospital when there was that time skip. As a way to engage you guys and produce content in between episodes, so you guys don't just have, you know, radio silence. That being said, I will briefly discuss where we are with the current episodes. So right now, I am the only writer. It's not as if Zoe and Shax have quit, they're just extremely busy with their lives, so I've taken over the work. And so right now, it's just me writing the scripts, and it's me doing the background, and as of episode 25, doing the background art. Still like drawing the scenes and stuff, so it's a lot of work, and juggling that with voice actors as well. But episode 26 is being produced. It should be finished soon, actually, but we do not want to release it until we have episode 27 underway, so like I said, there's not a huge gap in between episodes again. So all that aside, let's get started. So, Yanni Boy, Janbo, New Kid McDoucheface, is that what Armin called him? New Kid Doucheface, yeah. What a man! Quickly became a fan favorite, which is kind of surprising given how much of a dick he is, but let's talk about that. Let's talk about why Jean is the way he is. And the root of all that, like most of everyone's problems, is his family. Jean is a military brat. His dad was deployed in Afghanistan, and after war, he still remained in the army. So Jean moved around a lot. That sucks as a kid. You don't really have stability in your life, and you don't know when your dad's shipped off to war. It's like, hey, is my dad gonna live? Is he gonna die? I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, as a kid, that's pretty traumatizing. So it's just him and his mom and Ella. And Jean really loves his mom. His mom did work a lot. She's a software developer. And she would work long nights sometimes. So it left Jean to take care of his little baby sister, Ella. So that's really tough as a kid, having such an unstable life. He obviously had a lot of trouble making friends and maintaining friendships. He became very, very closed off and a dick as a defense mechanism because he doesn't want to get attached to anybody. And that leads to one of the biggest traumatic things in Jean's life, and that is his parents divorcing. I don't know if any of you have divorced parents. I'm pretty sure some of you do, but if they divorced when you were a young teenager, you know how shitty this is. Most parents, most divorces, don't go over smoothly. In fact, I don't know any parentals that have divorced that have, you know, actually been decent human beings to each other and act like they loved each other at one point. So the best way to start out with this is Jean's mother. She ultimately cares for her family. She wanted to keep her family together no matter what. Even if she was very, very unhappy with her husband because he was constantly gone, and she was lonely, wanted, help taking care of her kids, because it's a lot of work being a single parent, raising two kids, especially when they're young, because they can't really defend for themselves yet. You don't really want to leave like a 6-year-old at home by himself. Like, who the fuck would do that? So it's really tough. She was, like I said, she was very lonely and she's very stressed out. And the fighting didn't really start until John was about 13, 14 years old. And when you're a kid, and this is speaking from personal experience because my parents divorced at that time as well. When you're a kid and you aren't exposed to your parents being affectionate with each other or your parents being apart a lot, the rare times that they do show affection, it's foreign to you. It doesn't make sense. For example, my parents were never affectionate growing up, and anytime now that I'm shown affection, I don't know how to react. I'm just like, thanks for the hug, cool beans. And John is the same way. His parents, like I said, were apart a lot and weren't very affectionate. So if someone says, hey John, you're a cool dude, he's like, okay. Or if someone is like, Sean, I really care about you and I love you, he would have a fucking brain aneurysm, because when you're not exposed to that as a kid, like I said, something like that is foreign to you. You don't understand it. And basically it goes two ways. You either become starved of it and you are desperate for anybody's attention, or you are just like, do not hug me, do not come near me with a 10-foot pole. And that is John in this case. And Jean's feeling of being emotionally and physically attached was exacerbated when his parents really started arguing. Because, I mean, even as a kid, you know, Jean was like, oh, look at my mom, even through all of this, she still loves my dad, and being so far apart from each other, but they still love each other. Look, their love is just so strong. And then you have your parents who are supposed to love each other for the rest of their lives, sitting there and insulting each other, being nasty and just screaming at each other and just saying the worst things about each other. It's like, what the fuck are you two doing? Like, why are you like this? And then the divorce gets worse because then the money gets involved, and then the lawyers, then they actually write up the divorce contract, and then you're sent to court for custody, and then you're just like, well, I guess love just doesn't fucking exist then, because what's the point of this? Like, even if my parents loved each other unconditionally at one point, their love couldn't outlast distance. Till death do us part means nothing. And what's the point? What's the point of loving someone? What's the point of marrying someone if it could just end in divorce and money troubles and nasty grams, as my mom calls it? And Jean develops the mentality of, no matter what you do, everything falls apart. And I mean, who can really blame him? Jean's mother is very self-sacrificing. Her ultimate goal was to keep her family together no matter what. So even if she was very, very unhappy, she never showed it, especially around her children. And so Jean and Ella were completely unaware that their mom was just so unhappy. On top of that, you just aren't necessarily aware of those things when you're a kid. Your parents not being affectionate or not being around each other. And his parents fucked him up. And that is very cold truth about a lot of parents, is that they fucked you up. And in this case, it's not really anybody's fault. Jean doesn't necessarily hold any malice towards either of his parents for the divorce itself, moreover, how they treated each other during the divorce. He's mad at them for screaming at each other and insulting and cursing and just being terrible human beings to each other. And having the kids overhear that, it's awful. It's like, you want to go into your parents and scream at them to shut the fuck up. And Jean actually has done that a couple times, just been like, hey, shut the fuck up, Ella's trying to sleep, you assholes. Like, Jesus Christ, you're gonna call the police or something? God damn, you're gonna wake up the fucking neighbors. Like, he would say something like that. And luckily he could get away with that shit, because if I did that, oh Lord, I'd be out in the street. But yeah, it sucks. The long and short of it, that sucked. And that leads into the base characterization of Jean in Survey Corps. Just the emotional distance, the trauma of his parents divorcing, the not being able to attain any friends because his coping mechanism is being an asshole. And despite all of that, despite Jean being outwardly a dick, he's not actually a dick. He has a really tender heart. Since his dad is in the military, he kind of instilled a very strong sense of morality and duty. So, for example, Jean in school, despite the fact that, you know, he was a dick socially, he kept up his grades. He worked hard. He's a pretty smart kid. And, you know, he didn't want to stress his mom out with terrible grades and the parent-teacher meetings, because, like I said, his mom has worked a lot. So he wanted to be the best child possible to his parents and the best brother to his sister. So, I mean, Jean, he does a lot of the housework, he does the lawn, and he sometimes cooks dinner or helps Ella with his homework, takes her to school, just to help out his parents, or his mom, because during the divorce they decide to live with their mom for stability. So, Jean is not a nice person, but he's a good person. Jean has a very strong sense of morality from his father. Like I said before, his father was a soldier and was deployed in Afghanistan. And Jean doesn't necessarily know everything that happened to his father in Afghanistan, but from what he was told, he has a very strong value over human life. So when it comes to killing hollows, he could not, kill Ella because it's his sister, but he can kill other people because he doesn't have that attachment. But when it comes to killing a living human being, I don't think Jean would be able to do something like that because of just his value over human life. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That is a big attest to his character, but it can get him in a lot of trouble because in a type of situation like this, you will have to compromise your morality. People out there are shitty. People are very, very shitty. And Jean knows that. Would he still be able to kill a living human being? No. Can he punch someone in the face? You bet the fuck he can. So that leads into Ella and Marco and the parallels between those two. Jean has said before that Marco reminds him of Ella. Ella and Marco are similar in the way that they see the best in people no matter what. And like any strong belief, that can be a good thing and a bad thing. And John, it's a really bad thing because you see the best in people and then that leads you up to vulnerability, and Jean's biggest fear is being emotionally vulnerable because that leads him to being hurt, and this poor boy is tired of being hurt. Jean's default is anger, so he lashes out against Marco's naivete with a lot of yelling. Oh, a lot of yelling. Sorry, Garrett. And he is angry because in his mind, how could you just be so, could you let yourself just be vulnerable? How could you let yourself, go out and be hurt because everything is terrible and this good thing, it never lasts? And that mentality, it's a coping mechanism because, like I said before, Jean is a very, very hurt and tired boy. So this default of asshole is a cover-up for his true vulnerable self. People like Marco and Ella can see through this level of bullshit. Marco, sort of. I mean, he didn't see through Annie, and look where he ended up. But Ella especially, because she would see through, if John was being just especially a dick one day, like just top dick, she would be like, yo, what the fuck is wrong? And he's like, nothing is wrong. She's like, no, something's wrong. And then he'd be like, shit, you got me. And then he'd tell her everything that's wrong. And John, he likes to think that he's emotionally unavailable, but not really. He's willing to open up to anybody who will listen to him. And Jean opened up to Marco at the beginning of Survey Corps, and he did this because he was very, very scared, very vulnerable. It was the beginning of the apocalypse, so he clinged on to this person who was most like his sister. Now, I had this discussion with Garrett. If Ella had lived, Jean would have been like, Marco who? I'm sorry, I don't know him. Because his sister would have been his focus. Like, just keep my sister alive, keep her safe, keep her fed. And the shit that Annie pulled when she almost shot Connie, he would have bounced. He would have been gone. He would have been gone the day before that happened, because ultimately his sister is his priority. So with John, he is ride or die. When he truly cares about someone, he will do whatever it takes to keep them safe, and that is, again, a test to his character. He, like I said before, is not a nice person, but he is a good person. Now, I can say some minor things about Jean's character that I think some of you guys will like. His favorite subject in school was math because it was very straightforward, and he was particularly good at physics, and I got that idea from Canon, actually. He is particularly good at 3D maneuver gear, and that requires a lot of physics. Himself, his mom, and Ella played Mario games together. Jean sucks at Mario games, especially Mario Party 8. This art actually takes place the night that him and Ella made the bracelets. Jean once had a hamster named Master Chief, and he ran away. For one Halloween, Ella made him dress up as Rough Nut, and she was Tough Nut. Jean is bisexual because, let's be real, the only thing straight about him is his teeth. He cried during Lord of the Rings, and if you haven't cried during the Lord of the Rings, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you. He listens to a lot of angsty rap, aka Hollywood Undead. He also listens to a lot of SoundCloud artists, and just a lot of chill music. One of his favorite movies is Atlantis. His favorite food, surprisingly, is not pizza rolls. It is chicken carbonara. His mom makes really good chicken carbonara. Ella once put all of his hair in little ponytails. He knows how to braid hair from helping Ella get ready for school. Yes, he did bleach his hair because I just have such a hard time believing that that fucking mop on his head is natural. He took boxing for a few years to help his anger. Thanksgiving is his favorite holiday. His favorite memory was when his family took a trip to Disneyland when he was about 10, and as cheesy as it is, he thinks of his family every single day. And of course, his favorite video games are Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, Resident Evil 4, Halo 3, and he has a particular soft spot for Harvest Moon. So that is all I can say for now. This is the first time I've ever done something like this, so I apologize if it's just shit. But I'm trying very hard. I understand that it is very frustrating not having episodes out regularly anymore, but we are trying our best. Things like this are a lot of work, so I appreciate your patience, and I am still blown away to this day that we still have big of a following as we do. I hope to do more things like this. I know it's not an episode, but I just thought that some of you would appreciate just a little bit more of insight into John's life. So that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you on the flip side.